SpaceX is having the best of times as it continues to smash records and achieve significant milestones that no other aerospace company can boast of. So in today's video, we'll be exploring the significant milestones achieved by SpaceX in recent years. In the early hours of Sunday, January 24, 2021, America's foremost private aerospace company, SpaceX, launched a two-stage Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral in Florida. This was just the third rocket launch made by SpaceX in 2021, and remarkably, it would go on to become one of the company's most memorable launches, not only in 2021, but in its entire history. So, what exactly was special about this launch, and why is it regarded as a significant milestone for SpaceX? Well, to start with, when the Falcon 9 rocket lifted off, it carried a stack of 133 commercial and government-owned satellites, as well as 10 Starlink satellites. This represents the first dedicated mission for SpaceX's small-sat rideshare program, an initiative that was set up to offer satellite launching services for as low as $1 million per satellite. And with a total of 143 satellites on board, it was the highest number of satellites transported to space by a single rocket. This massive haul contained 39 more satellites than the 104 satellites transported to space by India's PSLV-C-37 rocket back in 2017. Some of the satellites that made it to the low Earth orbit as part of the iconic space voyage include Hawk 2 satellites, the GNSS Navigation and Occultation Measurement Satellite, the YUSAT and IDEA-SAT satellites belonging to Taiwan, and 3 CubeSat satellites owned by NASA. SpaceX has actually been involved in transporting payloads of different sizes to space for quite some time. In fact, a similar rideshare mission in 2018 saw the company deliver 64 satellites into low Earth orbit with a single rocket. However, the launch in 2021 was more significant due to the sheer amount of satellites that were transported. It was a very complex mission that required efficient planning and execution because each satellite had to be deployed in a timed sequence to avoid potential collisions. To solve this conundrum, SpaceX utilized specialized launch dispensers and free-flying transfer stages which helped deploy each satellite at a predetermined orbit. By the end of 2021, the private aerospace company had successfully completed the launch of 28 more rockets, bringing its total number of rocket launches to 31 for that year. But like Oliver Twist, Elon Musk wasn't satisfied because he wanted the company to complete 48 launches in that calendar year. But despite his disappointment, the company still had a lot to celebrate. And I'm not even talking about the bumper satellite launch. For instance, during its last flight mission for the year 2021, SpaceX completed its 100th successful landing for an orbital-class rocket. It was a milestone that no other player in the aerospace industry had achieved. But little did we know that SpaceX was only laying down the marker for what was to come. By July 2022, the American aerospace company had completed 32 rocket launches, one more than it managed in the whole year of 2021. At the end of the year, SpaceX finished with 61 successful rocket launches. To put this significant achievement into perspective, SpaceX was responsible for 78% of the entire rocket launches in the United States in 2022. And impressively, the company maintained a perfect flight record all through the year. The closest challenger to this record at the time was the Russian-owned Soyuz rocket, which completed 45 of its 47 rocket launch attempts back in 1979. Again, this was another astonishing achievement by SpaceX. But if you think that's the apex, wait until you hear what the company has achieved so far in 2023. As of October 23, 2023, SpaceX has attempted 77 rocket launches, 16 more than it completed in 2022. This includes 72 Falcon 9s, 4 Falcon Heavies, and 1 Starship. And as it did in 2022, the company currently has a 100% launch success rate in 2023, excluding the Starship rocket that exploded a few minutes into its first orbital flight. SpaceX hopes to complete 100 rocket launches by the end of this year. To meet this goal, the Elon Musk-led company will need to successfully launch a rocket into space every 88 hours. This, of course, is no easy feat. However, considering everything that the company has achieved so far, you wouldn't put it past them to smash this goal and even surpass it. But in all of this, it is the company's rocket reusability and impeccable safety records that stands out the most. Back in May 2020, SpaceX hit a significant milestone after it became the first private aerospace company to transport astronauts to the International Space Station. By the end of that year, the company facilitated a total of 3 successful crew missions to the ISS. The same feat was repeated in 2021. However, this year, the company aims to push the boundaries and smash that record by completing between 4 and 6 crewed flights while maintaining its remarkable safety record. According to reports, SpaceX has an average launch success rate of over 98% for all of its spacecraft over time. More impressively, the Falcon 9 rocket has a 100% launch success rate across 228 launches that date back to 2016. Nonetheless, the firm is working on innovative safety measures to further improve its launch success rate going forward. One of those measurements is the newly designed water deluge system, which is expected to correct the issues experienced during the tragic Starship launch earlier this year. Except for this unfortunate incident which happened in April, SpaceX has had a flawless year so far. On September 23rd, a Falcon 9 rocket carrying 22 Starlink satellites lifted off from the Cape Canaveral space station, and some 8.5 minutes later, the rocket's first stage successfully landed on a SpaceX drone ship at sea to mark yet another milestone. SpaceX confirmed that this was the 17th successful liftoff and landing for this Falcon 9 first stage, which entered service back in 2020. By completing that touchdown, this rocket booster equaled the record that was set by another Falcon 9 first stage 4 days earlier. But they're not ready to retire, at least not yet. According to the engineers, both rockets will continue flying until they reach at least 20 flights. For every launch that these boosters complete, SpaceX carry out extensive inspections to evaluate their condition. And when required, the company does some basic maintenance work, which sometimes involves the replacement of engines and other critical components. In addition, these long-serving rocket boosters are only used to launch Starlink satellites. Other rockets with less mileage are used for human space travel and customer payload delivery services. This is done in order to mitigate the risks involved, but it doesn't take anything away from what SpaceX has achieved with its rocket reusability technology. At the very least, experts believe that with its reusable rocket solution, SpaceX is able to save over $60 million in manufacturing and material costs per mission compared to the traditional expendable rocket operators. That alone is a significant achievement that isn't talked about a lot. SpaceX's impressive track record for safety and efficiency makes it the foremost private space exploration company not only in the United States, but in the world at large. Essentially, the successes achieved by SpaceX over the years also give a significant advantage when bidding for contracts, whether that be from individuals, private companies, or from government organizations like NASA. SpaceX has literally created a monopoly for itself in the space travel and transportation industry, shifting the likes of Boeing and even Roscosmos to the backwaters, despite the fact that these companies had been in existence long before Elon Musk got the idea to found SpaceX. This explains why SpaceX was included in the 2023 list of most successful space companies, a recognition that is often reserved for established government agencies. Perhaps more significantly, it also explains why SpaceX has become a major contractor for NASA and other top government agencies. In April 2021, NASA awarded SpaceX a $2.9 billion contract to build a moon lander for its Artemis program. This was followed by a $1.15 billion contract for the company to build an upgraded version of its Starship lunar lander and fly a second crewed mission. More recently, in October 2023, the SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket was used to launch the $1 billion Psyche spacecraft, which is expected to explore the 16 Psyche asteroid for 2 years starting from 2029. Hopefully by then, Elon Musk and SpaceX would have gotten closer to achieving their ultimate goal of sending humans to the Martian world.